Well, Becky, usually we ask our guests 5 questions about how they learned to sew, but you've been a guest for us before, and I looked it up. It was episode 29, and this is
Okay.
episode 50. I can't believe we're on episode 50. So I have some updated questions for you, some things that I would love to know
Okay.
about your sewing. Okay. Do you have any notions that have a sentimental significance?
You know, when I saw that question, I thought, I just sold a house, the house that my kids grew up in last summer. And so I was going through everything and packing things and finding things and uncovering things I had no clue were still there or where they came from. And I was surprised that, like, do I have those things? And I don't keep a lot of like things. But I do have a thimble that my mom gave me. When I worked at the Guthrie, we had to use thimbles. That was, at least the person that I worked for was very, you couldn't use a seam ripper. You had to use a thimble. I mean, he was very precise about how he wanted you to work and sew. And so I don't have a seam ripper. But I do have a thimble, and my mom got me one, and it's silver, so it doesn't turn my finger green. And I show it to you, but it's in Michigan, so it's when it's on your finger, the back of it is lace. It's like a silver lace pattern that's open so that your finger doesn't get all sweaty. It's very practical, but very pretty. And I find it hard to use other thimbles since I've been using that one. And I've had it for years now. And so that's my sentimental silver thimble.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I think it's so wonderful when something has a purpose, is beautiful, and somebody you love gave it to you. It's really
I guess it hits all those notes.
Yeah. What is a technique that you've never tried but would like to take on?
So I have been saving on Pinterest for a while now. And I have no clue if this is how you say it, but I think it's called Fulgoni. It's a Japanese quilting type idea. And the ones that I've seen have been done with sheer, you do it by hand, the traditional ones, and it was a way to hook a bunch of scraps together to make more fabric. And so in this particular one is from Korea, and it's very, very beautiful flat-felled seams is what it looks like to me. And I've seen it done in sheer fabrics. So layers, these flat-felled seams, and it's the same on both sides. And so a lot of times they're used for screens or curtains. And it's fascinating to me, the idea of making new fabric and doing it by hand, and then this sheer element because the seams have a couple of layers, and then the other part of it is single layers, so you get the light and dark and shadows. So I'm fascinated by it, and I've collected lots of pictures of it, but I haven't quite pulled the trigger to do it yet.
Oh, that sounds very ambitious. I'm interested to see if you get a chance to work that into this project we're going to be talking about.
Let's not hold our breath.
Is there a technique that you use frequently that you'd like to become more adept at?
Okay, so I've made pants for a long time, and I've made jeans off and on. But I've found a pattern that I really like for jeans, and I've been making them more often. And I really need to get better at fly zippers. there are, I look up and I see all the different variations and ways to do a fly zipper. And I just need to, like, maybe not even make the pants, just make the front and try a bunch of different ways of doing that. And along with that would be bar tacks, because you then put the bar tacks on and they're right smack in the front, and it's a whole wad of chewed up thread. So fly zippers and bar tacks, I would like to be better at.
Good ones, yeah. In hindsight, what's some sewing advice you wish you knew when you started sewing?
So I was when I saw that question, it was tricky because I had a lot of really good advice as I learned to sew, and through the years I've had wonderful teachers and people to learn from. And so I've gotten advice, and they say that the teacher will appear when you're ready for them. And I think that's been true for me, that, I'm ready to hear something and take it on when it shows up. And so in hindsight, I guess, if you do things like fly zippers, there are dozens and dozens of ways to do that. And that's true for almost anything we do with sewing. There are so many different ways of doing a particular technique or project or seam or garment, and that to know and be okay with the idea that there are lots of right ways. Because early on in home ec class, which, how old am I really? You did it this way, and that was the right way. And to just have the freedom to say there are lots of right ways, and finding the one that works for you is I think important.
I agree. And can you tell us about a sewing tip that really made a difference in your projects?
Press, 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 press. Never underestimate your iron. And I think that's, unless you're working on oiled cotton, press, press, press.
Absolutely. Well, Becky, thank you so much for answering those questions.
Sure.